The Mystery of Shadow, Hollow. Long ago, in a small, peaceful village known as Hollowbrook, there was a belief so strong that the villagers carried it with them every day of their lives. They believed that together they could face any darkness, no matter how terrifying, and that by standing united, they could dispel even the deepest fears. But the story of Hollowbrook wasn't always one of peace. There were whispers about a place far from the village called Shadow Hollow. It was said to be a cursed land where the trees never grew tall and the skies were always overcast. People who ventured near it never returned, and if they did, they were never the same again. The elders in the village spoke of this place often, warning children to stay far away from its borders. They told stories of the shadows, mysterious dark figures that roamed the hollow, stealing the warmth from anyone they touched. Those who wandered too close would lose their way, and their hearts would turn cold. No one could explain it, but the villagers knew one thing for sure. If the shadows got too close, they would take more than just your warmth. They would take your soul. One evening, as the wind howled through the village, a young boy named Eli sat by the fire with his grandfather, old Hartley. Eli had always been curious about the world beyond Hollowbrook, and though he had heard the warnings of Shadow Hollow countless times, a part of him wondered if it was all just a myth. "Grandfather," Eli asked, "is the story of Shadow Hollow true? Do the shadows really steal your soul?" Old Hartley looked at Eli, his eyes heavy with the weight of his own memories. "I don't know, son," he said quietly, "but there's a reason we tell that story. The shadows aren't just about fear. They represent something deeper, something we all have inside us, something we need to confront, or it will destroy us." Eli was puzzled. "What do you mean?" "The shadows are the darkness in our hearts, Eli," old Hartley explained. "The bitterness, the anger, the things we refuse to let go of. If we don't deal with those feelings, they fester, grow stronger, and turn into something real, something that can destroy us." Eli didn't fully understand, but he felt a sense of unease settle in his chest. That night, as he lay in bed, the wind howling outside, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the story than just ghosts. The following day, Eli ventured to the edge of the forest with his friends, Maggie and Thomas. They had heard rumors that the boundary of Shadow Hollow had begun to shrink, creeping ever closer to Hollowbrook itself. It was a risk, but the three of them were eager to discover the truth. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the trees seemed to grow more twisted, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The air grew heavy, and a strange silence settled over the group. Even the birds had stopped singing. "I don't like this," Maggie whispered, her voice trembling. "I think we should go back." Eli, determined to find the truth, shook his head. "We've come this far, just a little further, and we'll find out what's really going on." As they walked, the light seemed to fade, though the sun was still high in the sky. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, and the ground beneath their feet grew soft, as though it were alive. Then, just as Eli was about to turn back, they heard it, a low, distant sound like whispers carried on the wind. "Do you hear that?" Thomas asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The whispers grew louder, and suddenly a figure appeared before them, tall, dark, and shrouded in shadows. Its face was hidden, but they could feel its presence, cold and suffocating. "Who, who are you?" Eli asked, trying to steady his voice. The figure said nothing, but it extended a hand toward them. Slowly it began to speak, its voice like 1,000 whispers. "Come closer, children. Embrace the darkness, and you will understand." Eli felt a chill run down his spine. He wanted to run, but his feet felt rooted to the ground. The air around them seemed to grow thicker, suffocating, as the shadows twisted and swirled. Maggie, terrified, grabbed Eli's arm. "We have to go. Now!" But it was too late. The figure reached out, and as its hand brushed Eli's arm, a wave of cold washed over him. He could feel the darkness pressing into his chest, into his heart, pulling at him, trying to consume him. Suddenly, Eli felt a surge of strength. He pulled away from the figure, his heart pounding. "We have to get out of here." The three of them turned and fled, running as fast as they could. The trees seemed to close in around them, the path twisting and turning, leading them deeper into the heart of Shadow Hollow. Every time they thought they saw the edge of the forest, it vanished as if the very land itself was shifting. Finally, after what seemed like hours, they broke free from the woods and found themselves back